Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack one of the most fascinating psychological tools you can possibly use to conquer high-pressure situations. You know how some people just seem to, well, flip a switch. They instantly become these entirely different, totally unstoppable versions of themselves when the stakes are highest. No way is it magic. They're often using a highly effective, clinically backed strategy, the psychological alter ego. So, we're going to break down the blueprint of how to build and master your own superhero persona so you can flip that switch whenever you need it most.
What if I fail? Wow, it's a heavy question, isn't it? That is the paralyzing grip of self-doubt and anxiety right there. It's that mental trap that catches us right before those big defining moments. Whether you're walking into a massive final exam, stepping up to a podium for a public speech, or heading into a high-stakes negotiation. Our own past failures and deeply rooted anxieties create incredible friction, making our normal selves hesitate exactly when we need to act the most.
But what if you didn't have to be you? What if you could step outside of yourself entirely? This is a wildly provocative idea, but it is the absolute core of everything we're exploring in this explainer. By stepping out of your own shoes, you completely bypass all that hesitation, all that friction, and those self-imposed limitations. You leave the anxious you totally behind.
Which brings us to Section 1, the trap of self-doubt and the Batman effect.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the psychology behind it. Psychologists have heavily studied this phenomenon of psychological distance, and they often call it the Batman effect. It's literally the act of creating a completely fictional persona to act as a psychological shield between you and whatever is stressing you out. This is the scientific foundation for why an alter ego works so brilliantly. It's not just a game of pretend, it is a documented cognitive separation.
Look at the stark contrast. On one side, we have you, carrying all your normal, everyday insecurities. On the other side, we have the task, which demands absolute, pure focus. An alter ego acts like an impenetrable brick wall between these two. It separates your vulnerable, everyday self from the pure performance you need to get the job done. The insecurities stay on the left, but the persona steps over to the right to handle business. Because of that separation, we get this incredible mental loophole. You can literally tell yourself, hey, it wasn't me who messed up, it was just the persona practicing. This is a profound shift in mindset. It actively suspends your internal judgment. If you're trying out a bold new behavior or taking a big risk and it doesn't go perfectly, you just don't feel that crushing authentic shame. Your core self wasn't the one who failed. The alter ego is just out there running a test.
Let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds into a deliberate, four-step process for constructing an unstoppable persona.
Okay, here are the first 3 foundational steps laid out clearly. Step 1, identify the field of play. You really have to define exactly where you need this persona. Are you building an alter ego for studying, for leadership, crushing a tough workout? It needs a specific environment. Step 2, choose the traits and give them a name. Who possesses the exact qualities you need for that field of play? Maybe it's a brilliant, hyper-focused scholar, or, actually, scratch that, maybe it's a robotic, emotionless machine that feels no pain. Pick the traits and name it. Step 3, define the origin story. Why is this persona so unstoppable? By giving them a why, you make them feel incredibly real to your own brain.
And then, boom, we get to Step 4. This is where the absolute magic happens, the totem. The totem is your physical trigger, and honestly, it is the single most crucial part of this entire strategic process.
A totem is an object that physically activates the persona. It could be putting on a specific pair of glasses, snapping a watch onto your wrist, sliding on a ring, or zipping up a certain jacket. The psychology here is totally Pavlovian. The exact moment that item physically goes onto your body, the alter ego is triggered and takes over completely. The hesitation, it just vanishes.
Let's shift gears to Section 3, the perks of the persona, and how we actually unlock that potential.
And this brilliantly illustrates a common saying. We've all heard the phrase, fake it until you make it, right? Well, when you use an alter ego, you are faking it with absolute psychological backing. You get an instant, massive confidence boost because you're freeing yourself from your own self-imposed limits. You aren't just pretending to be confident anymore, you are allowing a confident persona to operate with native-level determination.
So there are 3 massive advantages here. First up, emotional regulation. The persona essentially filters out unhelpful emotions, like sudden panic or distracting boredom, and replaces them with high-efficiency focus. Second, it unlocks hidden potential by removing that friction of self-doubt we talked about earlier. And finally, it protects your ego. If the persona experiences a setback out there on the field of play, your core self remains perfectly safe, completely protected from the bruising of failure.
All right, let's bring things back down to earth for Section 4, Beware the Mask and the Hidden Dangers.
Because this is a psychological shield, there are absolutely risks if you use it incorrectly. First is the risk of escapism. You might start using the persona to run away from reality rather than actually facing it. Second, mental exhaustion. Maintaining a high-intensity alter ego is incredibly draining. Constantly switching masks takes a serious toll on you. Third, disconnection from authenticity. If you rely on the superhero too much, you might start feeling like your true, everyday self just isn't good enough. And fourth, the impression of insincerity. If your close friends notice a sudden, robotic shift in your personality when that totem goes on, well, it can come across as deeply unnatural to the people who know you best.
Which brings us to our final thought. You've got the superhero blueprint. You know the science, the power of the totem, and the hidden risks. The only question left is, who will you become when it's time to perform? Think about that for a second. I highly encourage you to dive deeper into this fascinating psychological strategy. Thanks so much for learning with me today.